Yes, I had to kill it. Jump Force is truly dead. But we had to kill it so we can reconstruct it and rebuild it and resurrect it. Before we can do any of those things, we need to understand, deconstruct, and possibly realize and show the importance of an anniversary game. And we do that from the beginning. Right now I'm showing you the trailer, the very first trailer we saw at the Xbox E3 conference of 2018. And when was it? It was so exciting, man. Let me tell you. Not only are we seeing a trailer on an Xbox conference of a Japanese-made game, but it's a Shonen Jump crossover. But when we had one of those in a while up to this point, and it was different. The trailer was hype as hell. But I started to notice something. As soon as Goku transformed and the gameplay started, it started to look very similar to J-Stars. And right there, and then I knew it was going to be developed by Spike Chunsoft, which was a little worrying to me, but at the same time, they handled J-Stars pretty well in a lot of areas. And this tag team assault, this trailer showed us everything in a little bit of what Jump Force would be. And then we got the cliffhanger. Man, oh man. But where is it now? Where are we now? Right now, the game's on life support. And, of course, dead, according to this video and me. Who could have seen this coming? From the very first hype trailer till now. Some might even say that the best part about Jump Force is the hype period of it. And I must say, it was definitely an arc in the coming and bringing of the Jump Force community. I started this channel on Jump Force, and let me tell you, it was quite the ride. But as we continue to move on and move forward, Jump Force does not, and that is purely unacceptable. We live in a day and age where new versions of games come out, so what's the exception for Jump Force? It's already dead, and we don't need any more characters and maps and events. We need a whole new game, but not a sequel. Let's begin the deconstruction phase. Let's begin with the best of Spike Chunsoft and what they did really good. Alright, whoever says Spike Chunsoft can't make an anniversary game, looky here. Oh, well, yeah, look here. This is the first time Spike Chunsoft had their chance to show us, the fans, and whoever else they wanted to impress, the fact that they can make a very good anniversary game, and showed us their knowledge of how well they could put together some Shonen Jump characters, some of which we've never seen in the game before at all on this level. Kochikame, Gintama, Madaka, Hitman Reborn. You would never see these guys in their own game. You would never, ever see them. They have no right to be in the game, technicality, but they made it to this game. It was amazing. Opportunity for the fans to experience their favorite characters that did show up in this game. There was no Yugi. Unbelievable. We'll get to that in a second. But let's take a time before we get to the gameplay aspect of this to appreciate a good thing that Spike Chunsoft has done before. The intro, the feeling of the anniversary. Look how well this entire intro was handled. It was beautifully done. All the character strengths were shown. And that's something they did not bring back. Why? Let's take a look at the gameplay as well. Right now, I'm showing some Gintoki. I used to play some Gintoki I also thought Kentama was funny too. Life changes, and you don't think shit is funny that much anymore. Anyway, the moves, the feel of the character is something that Spike Chunsoft also did very well. Inside the gameplay, that is. You felt like the character. There was no doubt you were playing like an image of the character or a shell of the character. You were Gon. You were Aizen. You were Ichigo. You were Taro Yamada. Yeah, there was some weird ass roster choices, but you know, cheap license is a cheap license. Either way, you felt like the character you were playing as. Especially when they hit that ultimate move. You get the best of the character. Whoever you choose to be. It was amazing. And that's pretty much the highlight of what Spike Chunsoft did good. Because everything else is downhill from here. Yes, the model was good and the graphics were actually pretty nice. And it was really cool seeing all these characters in 3D. However, the gameplay itself is absolute garbage. In any mode that you play, free battle, arcade, victory road, J-Adventure, online battle, you had to deal with the same exact gameplay. The same exact way to play the game. There was no variation to it. There was no special stipulations you can add. The same bullcrap invincibility once you get knocked down. Yes, it affected you as a player too. But what's the point? The gameplay was obviously meant to be a party. It wasn't meant to be seriously played as a competitive game, even on any level. And that's what killed it. And that's part of the negativity we're about to discuss with this game. Now, I wouldn't really call buying characters at the start of the game negative. I think for 2014, it was acceptable. It was pretty nice, and it did make you feel the importance of the character that you bought when you earned them. You know, it was pretty nice to earn characters while that lasted, without the DLC shenanigans. But there was battle characters and support. Ready for that other negative? You know it was coming. Support characters. What was the point of that? With the already terrible system, you get support characters. What's the point? Some of the battle characters you can use for your support slot too. And it's kind of, when you think about it, there's no support. You know, you're not putting support only characters in the support only place. Battle characters can be used for that place too. I just said that. So what's the point of support characters in the game? Alan Walker, Rukia, Hisoka being not playable and support only? It's kind of baloney, man. And it made no sense. The roster was well balanced, and that's one thing I can say is good about the game. But that's where it all ends. With the positivities of what Spike Chunsoft has done. But what does that transfer over to Jump Force, really? Spike Chunsoft took their criticism, took the criticism of all the people, all the complaints during that time, and implemented it into Jump Force. And it's pretty obvious. The stages are larger in Jump Force. The characters are more well known. And there's no, who's that? Not too much. There's less ignorance when it comes to that, because you have a well-known character roster. And of course you get the CACs, something to keep the player going without having to worry about boring, lame modes like Victory Road and stuff. Have a CAC go around and do some stuff. Venture a lobby. It's very obvious that Spike Chunsoft took what they did bad in this game, the last game they worked on, and improved upon it in this game. They made it more lively. But what they didn't do is bring over the good they did in the last game to this game. Listen, I know the MCU is popular and everything, but you didn't have to go ahead and copy it. I want to be honest with you. When you copy off Slowless, you get soulless. I'm just being real. There is no excuse for not having taunts for the characters. There is no excuse. They have it in the game itself. The Jump Force community created an entire movement based off a rematch function that was not available online. First of all, there was no need for that. That's bullcrap. It's useless movement. But still, they eventually put it in, and honestly, it definitely should have been in the game. Before we continue on with that, let's take a look at some other games that came out around the same time Jump Force did, and also celebrated the 50th anniversary, so we know that this isn't exclusive. The 50th anniversary thing, it wasn't like a special license situation where you only had to use these licenses for the 50th anniversary license or something like that. Take a look at Jump Ulti. It has so many characters and so many series. Yes, it's a Japanese only game. And yes, it's a gacha game. The positive of this game is it does its celebration very well. Kind of like J-Stars. But it will never be as hype as a 3D game. Or even a 2D game like Jump Ultimate Stars, which still to this day, to a lot of people, even after J-Stars and Jump Force Cast came out, is still the best Shonen Jump crossover game. I mean, come on, if I was Spike Chunsoft, my goal would have been to beat that. Hey, let's beat Jump Ultimate Stars. Let's include everybody from that game. Bring them in here, either as DLC planned or as base, and beat that game. Take that game's place and put it among people's list. Do it while we still have the relevance to some of these characters. Let's take a look at this list. To do our final deconstruction, I put on a comparison between J-Stars and Jump Force. Now these are the two key anniversary games that people pay attention to. Mostly because we can actually play the characters in 3D. Not no 2D, not no stupid gacha game. Well, that's what most people think that's stupid, is a gacha game. But in 3D, actually do the Kamehameha, the Ichigo's face, the Sharingan, and Luffy's leg or whatever. That's why people care. And these are both coincidentally made by Spike Chunsoft. They obviously will get their run back, and it should be the new version. This is our final deconstruction. We talked about the beginning of Spike Chunsoft and kind of beginning of Jump Force when they did J-Stars Victory Versus. How well balanced the roster is. The characters that could be playable, that's a negative. The well-placed story mode. It wasn't perfect, but it was necessary at the time. The standard range of modes. It was alright, and it felt like a complete game. The standard extras could have used a bit more than that. I know we had the OSTs from the original shows. It was very much more anime presented than manga presented. That's something I have to mention as well, which could help a lot of people like the game a bit more. Repetitive gameplay, the gameplay was trash fundamentally. The overall presentation feels like an anniversary. Big plus. Characters feel alive. They could taunt, they have facial animations, they have everything that you really need to feel like the character. So what did Spike Chunsoft take and pretty much transfer over to Jump Force? A recognizable roster with lack of representation. They didn't bring that over. That's kind of a gray area, because the recognizable roster actually is a good thing from a certain point of view. Story mode is a lackluster and embarrassing. You might as well not put that in, or at least copy off J-Stars, but even doing that would have been whack. The CAC is lacking and unimpressive. The DLC characters should have been the base roster. The gameplay is fluid and way better than J-Stars, but you lack the character depth that was brought by the little things in J-Stars. There was no support characters or unnecessarily support characters. That is a plus from their last game. Characters feel like a shell of themselves. Another thing, like I said, the character depth, but when you look at it from outside the gameplay, they really don't feel. They just feel like a model that says Goku on it. The online is solid, unlike the last game. So that's the deconstruction. We know what's wrong with Jump Force. We know what Spike Chunsoft did in J-Stars, that they did better in J-Stars than Jump Force, but you know what they improved on from J-Stars to Jump Force. They've shown us that they can improve, and they've shown us that J-Stars had another version of the game later in the year. Jump Force could be the same. Jump Force can give us more representation, revamp the story mode, you know, give us an accurate and better KSC, turn it fat, you know, give us separate pieces of clothing instead of putting them together, make us mix it up together. Fat, strong, muscular, skinny, tall, short, you know. DLC characters could already be installed in a new version. The gameplay is fluid, but it needs more depth to make it more crazy. So every time you play, there's a bit of unpredictability. There are no support characters. Now you could add support characters too. You could bring that back technicality to some characters, but not the characters that should be playable. Characters feel like a shell themselves. We need some animation stuff. And online is solid, but it needs some more modes. This is our final deconstruction. But it's now time to reconstruct. And let's get on with the Jump Force Resurrection. Where do we begin with this resurrection? We pointed out everything that needs to be done for this new version to be good. And I believe I know where we'll start. And we'll start with